Well, I'm imagining there are some of you that are curious about Mike's Train House and the technologies that are in it, and I thought I would walk you through their digital control system called Proto Sound. This is their Proto Sound 3. You can see that it's Proto Sound 3 because Proto Sound number 2 is crossed out and number 3 is written there. I thought that was interesting. And so they show you the wiring diagrams and where they go. And they also in here show you all of the bits that you will need and receive, except for the ones that are scratched out, because this is the Proto Sound 2 catalog, so some of them are scratched out. In any case, what I have done is walk through the wiring and traced all of the wiring so I know what I need and what I have and what I'm going to do. This is the engine here that we're going to work on. It's American Models New York Central Express. It's Margaret's engine. It has a DC can motor with a flywheel. It has mechanical smoke and chuff, and it has a whistle. So it has some stuff in it, but it's what you call conventional. It's not controlled by a wireless remote or anything like that. And that's what this is. This is the PS2/3 controller. It's actually a 2-board set, and it's mounted in a plastic holder that gets bolted into this tender. When we empty this out of whatever's in there now, you can see this will fit nicely in there. It's just that long, so it'll fit nicely in there. Now this looks like a menagerie, and it is kinda, and I've got it kind of backwards, flipped over. This should be over here and this should be over here, but bear with me on that. This piece goes into the tender. Along with that, and coming out of it, these twisted pair here are wires to a speaker. So the digital sounds will come through a speaker inside that unit. These are the tail lights or the tender running lights, and they'll be in the rear to give a warning that you're coming up to the back of the train. If we elect to have a digital coupler, an electric coupler that you can fire with a remote control, this is the connector for that. This is the connector for the backup light. So if we have a light, so when you go into reverse, when you go into reverse, this light would light up, and that would be shining somewhere in the middle of the tender, so when you're in reverse that lights up. This is to control the volume of the speaker, and I may or may not wire that in. It's not necessary. This is a handy little thing. All the ladies, moms especially, like this. This turns off smoke. So I don't know why it is, but can I turn that off? Well, yeah, but you know how hard it was to put it in. This is the ground wire. And there's a ground wire that goes to one side of the track, and then there's a hot wire here that goes to the other side of the track, and that's how you get the energy into this system. Now it's AC, so it doesn't matter really which one, so you're going to get AC current coming in, and the signal is going to be wireless through this control board. This is what they call the tether, and this is really long because this is built for Lionel O-gauge engines, and this is S-gauge is a lot smaller. So what I usually end up doing is actually cutting this off about here, cutting all of those wires off and splicing them in, and just using this bit to go between the two. We don't need this connector, and we don't need to be able to plug and unplug as much. Now, because of the unique nature, within the engine has a flywheel. And on that flywheel, what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of this tape. It's a striped tape. I could take this off because I'm not going to use it, and show you what it does. So you take this tape and you actually wrap it around a part of the engine that rotates, so it would turn and it would look like a zebra spinning in front of you. This guy is called a tack, but what it really is a stripe reader. As a stripe passes it, it gives a little tick count back to the controller, and it says there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, and it counts them. Now the computer inside here can not only count the stripes, but it can also determine the time, how many stripes were passed, so it now can determine speed. So with the tack and the stripe and the controller and the program inside the controller, we now have cruise control or speed control inside the engine with just that piece. This is the, these are the positive and negative that go to the motor. It's a AC motor, DC motor, so they're just wire it up, and that's how that works. There's a headlight that goes off and on when you're in forward, so that's the headlight circuitry. Then we talked about the hot and the ground. There's also a ground and a hot inside this harness, and that's because the pickups in line L are in the front, but the pickups for Flyer are in the back. So what I usually end up doing is cutting all this off and fastening it in to the main board. Then we have 4 wires left, and this is what generates the smoke inside Lionel and Mike's train house. It has a little electric motor with a blue tape, and there's a little heater inside here, and that's a hole that the smoke would come out. So the fan will puff, it'll spin when the heater's on, and a puff of smoke will come out. Now, it can be designed or programmed to come out 4 times every time that wheel rotates. So you go puff, 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 puff. And so you'll get an simulated exhaust stroke of smoke as if it was a real engine. The other thing that can do, since we have our tach and we know what a revolution is, and we have our stripes and we can count 4 1/4 of 1 revolution make a noise. Okay, puff. One, it makes a noise through the speaker, and 2, it turns the fan on and makes it puff. So you get the puff and the chuff at the same time, all using the stripe and the tachometer on the motor. So that's valuable. So this is the smoke. This is actually heater wire, and this is the fan, and this is actually the timed pulse by the tach that triggers when the fan should be on. At higher speeds or in the waiting area, it just runs continuous as if it's cooling down. That is all there is to a Mike's Train House PS2, and believe me, they have come a long way. This used to be a nightmare. These over here are wirings from previous PS2 kits that are left over, because they gave you everything but the kitchen sink in the old kits, and you had to determine, what do I need to use, what do I not use. So on these earlier kits, I have all this left over. But as you can see, I'm using every strand of wire and every connector that comes in here, and there is no more. One thing we lose in doing that is the running lights on the engine, but I do believe if you get the diesel, that probably comes with the diesel kit. This is a steam engine kit. So this is it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put this unit inside that tender. We're going to put this smoke inside that engine. We're going to wire all this stuff up and cram all those wires inside that engine, and that will be Margaret's New York Central Express, Mike's Train House, Proto Sound 3, and guess what? Mike's Train House builds an O-gauge engine exactly like this, and it has Proto Sound 3 sounds in a file that I can download to my PC and then load into this board. So I will have actual New York station calls, New York engineer to yardman talking, and actual engine sounds of an original New York Central Streamliner. I think that's going to be just awesome. So this is the game plan for the next few weeks, is to get Margaret involved in some way, get this thing gutted, which will be pretty exciting, and then we'll see where we can go from there. But I thought I'd share this. It's really long. I'm going to put it up on YouTube and then give you the link to it so you can see. Yeah, it's not like American Flyer, but it's not that bad. Yeah, there's a lot of wires, but when you break them down and you look at them one at a time, hey, you could figure this out. It's not that hard. It's just laying them in there and wiring them up. So anyway, I'll try to do a little better job of taping and posting and letting you know what's going on. All right, you guys, happy training.